everyone, I'm Harshita Kumawat, a student at Faculty of Law, Maharaja Sayaji Rao University, Vadodara. Today we have with us Advocate Anand Christian sir, a trust advocate who works closely with sex workers and represent their case within the legal system. Through his work, he engaged directly with the gap between law and real life, questioning how institutions respond when women from the marginalized community demand rights, safety, and recognition. So, we welcome you in the podcast. So, this conversation is not about morality, but about justice, but about consent, violence, dignity, and what women empowerment means. So, coming to the first question. To begin with, could you tell us about your work as an advocate and how your practice engage with issue of gender biased violence and access to justice?
As an advocate, I am practicing in the area of trust, and those trusts which are registered under the Gujarat Public Trust Act 1950 and Society Register Act 1860. And I have volunteered with so many non-government organizations in the city, and we work across the state, and we have worked in different issues, and this is one of the area where I have contributed something in the city of Vadodara. So we work among sex workers, and I appeared in many of the cases. We have conducted several awareness programs in the city of Vadodara, even sensitization program with Vadodara police, and different setups. So because I work in the area of non-government organizations, and due to that I am connected with this target group, and because of that I have got opportunity to represent them.
Okay, sir. Coming to the next question, gender-based violence affect women differently across occupation and social location. How does the law respond to this varied experience, including those of sex workers?
Women's vulnerability is there, but when we talk specifically about the sex workers, the fundamental right to life and right to live with a dignity is also their one of the basic right, fundamental right. And if you have observed, there is a one ruling in 2022 in which Supreme Court says that even sex workers has a right, and they have a right to live with a dignity, and they have a right to means, means they can practice their profession. Means there is no restrictions that they are initially it was perceived that it is an illegal activity, and they were arrested, and their names were exposed, and there are so many now reformation in this area also. And when now any raid takes place in any of the area, sex workers are considered as a victims. They are not made as accused. So this is how that Supreme Court interventions and different judgments has contributed in this particular area.
Thank you, sir, for this information because many of us were unaware of this judgment.
Yes.
Coming to third question, sex worker in India is often described as legal, but impossible to practice legally. Can you explain the contradiction and how it affects sex workers' daily life and safety?
See, after this Buddhadev Karmaskar versus State of Bengal judgment, there was a wide debate across the country that whether it is okay to declare this profession as illegal. You have to. There are confusion amongst people. Let me make it very clear that yes, you have a right to life, and you have a right to live with a dignity, and you have a right to profess your means you have a right to practice your profession. But if someone is running a brothel and who is into immoral trafficking, and those brothel owners are not protected under this particular provision. So yes, it is legal and you have all the right to practice your profession, but illegal in the context that if you are running a brothel and if you are doing a immoral trafficking and you are forcefully doing some activity, then you are not protected under these provisions. So it is always a misunderstood and it is a wrongly interpreted. Otherwise, as per this judgment, they have right to live with a dignity.
Yes, sir, exactly. People think about that Article 21,
Yes.
life of dignity, live for, and but people really don't think that it is legal or illegal. So, coming to the next question, what legal and institutional safeguards currently exist to ensure that survivors of violence, including sex workers, can approach authority without fear of harassment and discrimination?
Right now, all the legal provisions available to ordinary persons are also available for sex workers also, because there is no discrimination in the particular acts protecting women. But when it comes to sex worker, they sometimes hesitate to approach police authorities, and but in majority of town, they have their own sangatans who means represent their issues and their challenges to the concerned authorities. So even in a Dalsa at Baroda, even it is a NALSA scheme for protection of this type of vulnerable women, and that is specially that committee, that the scheme is for immoral trafficking prevention, and in that also even they can approach DALSA, and there are a list of panel advocates even there, even they can make application and DALSA can intervene, because even majority of the landmark judgments, if you observe, it is from the NALSA, and NALSA has contributed in this area. So this vulnerable group also has access to all laws available in India, as well as police is there. Even there are specific counseling center for women, for those who are the victims of a domestic violence, and they can even approach local district court by through a district legal service authorities.
So, coming to the next question, the Constitution guarantees dignity, equality, and personal liberty. How far are sex workers actually include within these institutional constitutional promises today?
Constitutional provisions are for everyone and they are not exempted from it. But sometimes fear, stigma, discrimination by the people towards this community is even today. They are not, even after Supreme Court judgments or these new developments, no one has changed their view about this community. So, the stigma and discrimination is one of the major issue, and because of this population is still one of the most vulnerable population.
Yes, sir. Today also we won't see them uh,
Yes.
as a legally correct person and
Yes.
personalities. Coming to next question, sir. Violence against sex workers is frequently normalized or dismissed. How does this mindset influence police response, medical care, and access to justice?
Especially talking about the Baroda, we have come across 2-3 cases where sex workers were threatened, they were attacked, and even it was a life threatening. And in this situation, some of the NGOs intervened and police has filed FIR against those accused and the actions has been initiated. So still, but you need courage, and with the help of this social organization, interventions are there and they have succeeded in the city, at least in Baroda, we have experiences.
So, coming to the next question, what role do support mechanism like legal services authorities, one-stop center, shelter, and NGOs play in addressing violence against women across different social contexts?
These setups are very crucial for this target population because shelters are the only place where in case of crisis they can be provided a particular place that they are safe in this particular area and they are protected. Even police has intervened in many of the cases and sex workers are referred to the shelters, but the major role has been played by NALSA. And one of the very great experience which I will like to share, that during COVID time, sex workers were one of the population, they were also suffering along with the other people and their livelihood issues were very serious, and in that time Supreme Court intervened and every district DALSA were instructed to identify this population, and just with the recommendation of a local NGO they were provided their Aadhaar card and their identification documents, and on the basis of that initially the fixed amount of ration and one fixed amount were given to all the sex workers, and I was part of that activity, and we have seen NALSA intervention in that, and it was all credit goes to NALSA, and they have intervened, and we have seen sex workers at district level, they were reached properly, they were given identification, and on the basis of that everyone were provided with a ration.
That was really
Yes.
inspiring story, sir. Coming to next question, sir. From your professional experience, what challenges arises in proving cases of violence where the survivor credibility is often questioned?
In any of the legal cases, always there is a tempering of a witness, threats to the accused, means threat to the victim, and sometimes this type of accused are very powerful, and out of fear majority of population don't come out for filing a complaint, they withdraw, and sometimes even if they have launched a complaint they are not very pro to go ahead and get the justice. One in a thousand will say that they have courage to fight for their rights and they don't surrender and they see to it that they got the justice. But in my experience, I have seen that majority of cases they don't come up with these issues. They try to manage it at their level, and people, and only with the intervention or with the full support of our organization and with the government, even the police and all, they have gathered this courage to launch a complaint. But very few succeeded in getting the justice because of their own initiative, because they withdraw. There is system to see, means there are people who will ensure that yes they get the justice, we are ready to fight for them, but majority of cases they withdraw. That is the saddest part of this.
Actually, sir, people like them, they are feared of
Yes,
complaining because they also think that their profession is not legal.
yes.
That's why also. Coming to next question, sir. If India were to shift from a moral policy model to a right based approach, what single legal reform would most reduce violence and vulnerability in sex work?
Even today, after 2022 judgment, what reforms has already we have observed in this field, it is not a moral judgment, it is a legal judgment. And Article 21 rights are the fundamental rights. So the basic concept is to protect the fundamental right, and reform is already introduced in Supreme Court judgments. Only thing needed is the implementation part. So what I suggest is what already Supreme Court has directed. Just let us conduct a series of awareness program. Let us sensitize the government machinery, police system, other people involved in this activity, and even as sex workers. Let us sensitize them and let them have a clear idea what Supreme Court has said in these particular judgments. And just by the proper implementation of these directions, we will be able to achieve this goal.
Yes, sir. Actually, they are unaware of the
Yes.
facts. Coming to next one, pregnancy with sex work is rarely spoken about. What legal and healthcare challenges do pregnant sex workers face, especially around consent, abortion, and motherhood?
This is a very sensitive issue, and sex workers getting pregnant, it is usually not reported. And even if there is a medical consequences or any particular challenges, usually it is at that personal level only, and even at their sangathan levels only. And usually they don't come up with these particular issues in public. Even we worked at a grassroots level, and we have seen these issues being dealt with, but they manage it at their own level, and they never. I have not come across any single issue reported at any medical hospital or any of the police station. So these are the very one of the very serious concerns, but never been reported.
So they are not filing complaint against.
Yes, because I have worked in this area for almost 17-18 years, and in my 17-18 years of work, I have not found a single one reporting this in any of the authorities.
So coming to the last question, for communities and young listeners, what key legal awareness point should be understood to support the right, safety, and dignity of sex workers and other vulnerable women?
The only message which I will like to give is we need to work seriously on the stigma about the sex workers, and the most area we need to work is the discrimination, the way we treat them, the way we comment on them, the way we misrepresent them, and this is the area.
So, coming to the last question, for communities and young listeners, what key legal awareness points should be understood to support the right, safety, and dignity of sex workers and other vulnerable women?
The one strong key legal points, if considering as a students or for a community, the very first thing is they are also citizens of India. They have their fundamental rights. They have the right to live with a dignity and practice their profession. But the major area where I would like to draw attention is work seriously on the stigma. Don't stigmatize this vulnerable group and the discrimination. I have seen sex workers living with a virus, HIV virus, and the way they are discriminated, and even their own family members, even others respond to that. It is very something very confidential issues which I will not like to go into more details, but the only message I will like to give to this general community as well as the students is we need to protect their rights, we need to spread awareness, and even those who are into this profession forcefully. We can help them, we can rescue them,
Yes, sir.
we can provide a protection them with, we can provide them a alternate income generation activities, and can definitely help them to come out even from this profession also. But we need to change our perspective, and we need to think from some intervention point of view, some reformative point of view, that how we can help this vulnerable population and how they will be in a non-discriminative way helped, and those even helping them, they should be very clear. Even those who are appearing for them legally, they should be very clear that you are appearing to protect their fundamental rights, and those injustice done with them, you are just defending them and representing your case on behalf of them. So those legal profession, new legal professionals need to go through these landmark judgments of Supreme Court, even the NALSA interventions, and even these judgments and these interventions should be made public, and everyone in this community should be aware about it, that what Supreme Court has said on this issue. Thank
Actually, sir, we all have to change our perspective,
you. Yes.
and we have to not discriminate them
Yes.
from us and everyone. Thank you for joining us, and thank you, sir, for joining us for this insightful podcast. Thank you.